Hey everybody, welcome to another Hot Take with Tony D and Little Joan. Is Raz Simone the stupidest man in the world? I don't know, but I think he's a contender. Raz Simone, for those of you who don't know, is they call him the Warlord of the CHAZ. I don't think that was his name. I think that was the media name. And the reason I think they call him that is, I guess he's got kind of a rap crew, you might call them. And his crew have guns, or at least he has a gun. And they have become sort of the de facto cops, kinda, in the CHAZ or the CHOP in Seattle. But, you know, the CHAZ is falling apart. There was another shooting, I believe it was last night. This is the second or third shooting, depending on how you look at it. A couple days before, there was two shootings. One person ended up in the hospital, and another person ended up dead. Now, during those shootings, which happened around the same time, Raz apparently made a video on Twitter begging the EMTs to come in and do their thing for one of the guys who got shot. And then he complained when they wouldn't do it, because it's incredibly dangerous in the CHAZ because people are getting shot. And if you've seen pictures of Raz Simone, you'd see him with his long gun like strapped across his chest. So I only have to assume that he had his gun when he approached them. So, I mean, it's not a good look, CHAZ. It's not a good look to CHAZ. I called him CHAZ. Raz and CHAZ. It's not a good look to declare an autonomous zone, which, by the way, is illegal, which is the rumor why they changed the name to CHOP, because it stands for Capitol Hill Occupy Precinct, I guess. I don't know what the P stands for. But they made it Occupy as opposed to Autonomous Zone. Autonomous Zone is apparently illegal. Occupy is not as illegal. So there you go. But Raz, you did seem to support the autonomous zone in the beginning, which meant you drove out the police, or the police abandoned you, or did you want the police? Because the police want to come back. The police want to come back. And part of their job is when there's a shooting, they come in and they secure things. And they find guns. And they arrest people with the guns near the shooting, because a lot of times those guys are the shooters. Well, it depends on the state. I mean, you're in a big city, and you might find this shocking, but a lot of people on the left side of politics think cowards hide behind guns. I mean, at least that's what they keep telling me. So, I mean, they're calling you a coward, Raz. I don't understand that. And, you know, these EMTs, they're not armed like you. And the John Brown Gun Club and the Redneck Revolt guys, I don't know if they're there. And even some of the Antifa guys, which we don't really know because, you know, they don't have a leadership or anything. I mean, you could be Antifa. I mean, you're with Antifa in the zone and BLM. And there are signs in the CHAZ that say BLM Antifa. And yet, on your Twitter account, I saw you retweet a guy who said you denounced Antifa. But Antifa is still in the zone. I'm confused. If you denounced Antifa, what does that mean? You're still going to keep its members around to cause problems? Because they do cause problems. So if you denounce them, I assume you denounce their violence, that they want to tear down the state. And the autonomous zone, or CHOP, or CHAZ, is in fact its own version of a state. I mean, it's mostly a LARP, but, you know, you're trying to build a state. I mean, I could see why you wouldn't want the Antifa guys around to tear down the state, because they want to tear down all the states. including the CHAZ, I assume. So why are they still there? I mean, if you run things and you've denounced them, why haven't they been kicked out? Why are there signs saying BLM Antifa? And if that's the case, are you Marxist? And you're in BLM? Because they're saying that their members are Marxists, trained Marxists, whatever that means. I'm not sure what they're trained in. I guess Marxism? I mean, I don't know. I'm not in BLM. But you apparently support BLM or in BLM? Do you speak for BLM? Because it's hard to say. Because with all the chaos in the CHAZ, it seems like everybody speaks for the group. So you've got this weird sort of collective, but you can't tell who's in charge because nobody's in charge. I mean, if you're truly in charge and you can negotiate things and guarantee people's safety, well, then that changes things. But I don't think you can guarantee any safety. I mean, you complain that the police were bad people and kicked them out, but they seem to be better at guaranteeing people's safety than you. I mean, you and your crew are just a bunch of randos with guns. You don't have any training. I don't see any real organization. Are you paying people to guard the CHAZ? Do you have a system of patrols? I mean, or do you just rely on the barricades to keep people out of the place? That's not a very good plan. I mean, if you guys are truly going to be an independent zone doing everything yourself, then, I mean, you got to consider many different things. I mean, number one is, the water system. The water system is connected to the rest of Seattle, and the sewage, and the electricity. So if you control that portion of the city, I mean, you can't make it to a fresh water supply, where you are. You're in a city. So you're going to have to negotiate with the United States for water, electricity, sewage, because you'll be using the pipes from your infrastructure to the outside infrastructure, which is Seattle. I mean, do you understand how that works? See, if you're going to control that zone, and that's yours, although I don't think you control it or own it, but let's say, for the sake of argument, you do, then you're responsible for it. Are you prepared to do the maintenance on your sewers, on your water, on your electricity? I mean, yeah, you're getting some donations for food and whatnot, and you can get bottled water, but at some point, a pipe's going to break. I mean, winter is coming, down the road, 6 months from now. Are you prepared to have guys fix things? I mean, who's going to pay for that? Who's going to pay for the water, electricity, and sewage? You understand, if you're your own country, you have to pay certain things to the United States. You have to negotiate with the United States. And I got to say, your human rights record doesn't seem very good at this point. You've had people shot, and you've had people OD. There are rumors of a lot of, sexual assaults within the CHAZ. Seems like you're having a lot of problems. And as the de facto leader, have you even been elected? I don't think you have. I don't think you called a vote. And I don't think, even if you did, that it would be recognized by independent bodies as a legitimate vote. So if you're a dictator, a strong-arm dictator, well, the United States, we have mixed feelings about dictators. My feeling is I wouldn't deal with you as a dictator. I would, maybe sanction you and block you off and, force you out of office or just not have any dealings with you. But, the foreign policy of the United States tends to be to sometimes work with dictators if they play ball. Are you willing to play ball with the United States, Raz? Are you willing to take money in return for your cooperation as the leader of the CHAZ? I don't know how well that'll go over with your compatriots in BLM or Antifa. I mean, you've denounced Antifa, so I guess they're not your compatriots anymore. But, you probably got to make that clear. And the other partner in your group, the Democrats, are also in this because they're connected to BLM. BLM is using Act Blue for their donations and funneling that to Act Blue. And no one's quite sure where the money is going. We assume Act Blue and possibly the Democratic Party. So are you part of the Democratic Party? Do the Democrats even acknowledge you? I mean, are you a Democrat? I guess is what I'm saying. And if you're not a Democrat, do you support the Democratic Party? I mean, you guys don't seem to support your local mayor. And your mayor is a Democrat, and she is responsible for pulling the police out. And I don't quite see you guys getting along because you've made pretty big overtures into saying nasty things about the mayor. Not that I'm a fan. No, I think she should be thrown out of office too. I know that some of your guys, at least I think there's some of your guys, went to City Hall and staged some sort of crazy protest and were egged on by one of the city council people who's even more left than the mayor, if you could believe it. But, you know, you don't seem to really have control of anything or understand how any of this stuff works. So maybe you're in over your head. Maybe you're not stupid. Maybe you just don't know what you're doing. Because it seems to me like you're just trapped. And, you know, the other day I made a video. You could, you know, parlay your career pretty good right now if you left the CHAZ. Or at least threaten to. You know, it would force people to either listen to you or you could get out of there before it all goes to hell. So, are you the stupidest man in the world? I don't know. If you stay in the CHAZ, I think you might be.